idea is the governance, coming down to then corporate governance, then I think it is being shared now. Um, Corporate governance. So again, within corporate governance, you can think of specific aspects, as I just explained, that aspect, this aspect, or different aspects as Dayananda mentioned. Even within these aspects, you can develop so many questions. So assume that you scale down into investigate about this relationship, or you may decide to investigate about the effectiveness of its composition of the governance, or you may think of asking question why the governance has become such a important buzzword in the, so why it has made to be a big discourse in the business world. So likewise, you scale it down, you limit it, what we call, you synthesize into one area. So within that particular area, again, you can ask so many other questions. Is it really necessary? Does governance improve performance, or does governance would add additional cost to the organization, or has it become another do organizations simply comply with this thing because there is a regulatory requirement without which you can't run the business? Is that the requirement? So you may ask, if you can show to the general public that you are a good person, good citizen, good corporate citizen, it would be easy for you to do the business. Is that the reason for them to maintain good governance, or something else, just to improve performance, just to do better, or to better in terms of interest of all the stakeholders, or just to comply, or just to legitimize what you do? Sometimes you do so all the bad things, but you simply comply with governance, or you may engage with some corporate social responsibility activities, show, then legitimize that I am a good person, so therefore I have legitimate rights of doing this. So likewise, you scale down questions. So what are the real motives behind governance issues? Then from that, you can select one or two questions. So finally, okay, think of, this is my research question which is going to be embedded in my research. Then based on that final research question, you can think of the title later on. Now you can understand that title emerges later on. Title is going to be a dress for your research question. Key, the substance is the research question. So nowadays, if you read within these corporate governance, if you like, recent corporate announcement by Kotagala Plantation about right issue of shares. So all of a sudden, so if you read it, so I do not know, so just study, this is a good example to talk about these governance issues. And the share price was around 9 or above 9, but the right price uh, was announced as 3 rupees per share, and still the right dates have not been notified. But of course, on one hand, you can question when it comes to right issue. So you have to have some fair understanding about the right issue. Why corporations do right issues? To collect or pool more capital at low cost for them, right? But to expand its businesses. So there are so many things, irrespective of the purpose for which the money gained from the right issue is going to be used. The corporations are supposed to mention the use of this money. So there could be many. So as a shareholder, you would be ready to give more money to the corporation as long as you see that your investment would increase. But this particular right issue triggers some points and critical issues that I'm asking. So it could be research issues, right? And specifically mention the money collected out of this, maybe the total money, 70% of the money would be used to repay financial arrangement, that is loans taken from major shareholders. So then it contradicts to some extent. On one hand, you collect money from all the shareholders, and 70% of that money would be paid to two shareholders, two or three, right? So in what ways is it going to help that corporation to expand? On one way, corporation may argue that, okay, we are going to get rid from this unnecessary debt burden, then this is equity, no the debt burden. So it would be free from, or that may be the argument. Or is it connected with related party transaction? So you can question another area within the governance, related party transaction. If you look at one annual report of a company, you may see pages and pages which contain related party transaction. So I have not seen any research pertaining to governance in connected with related party transaction in Sri Lankan context to think of. So what we want to tell you, when you synthesize it, so final research question will help you to show your path direction. Okay. So likewise, I'm not going to read out all these things in this list. You better look at this list and use either one method, many methods. So it is always better to use several methods. Then that would be easy for you to find the research question. So this is the social um, questions and all these things. I will skip them. And finally, I would like to look at this aspect to be concerned about research questions. So finally, so now we explain you the ways in which research question is formulated and it is being used for your research. In a nutshell, you need to keep them in your mind that these are the basic things I should be always concerned when I select a research question. What are they? Number one, it should be very clear, should not be vague. What you are, so research question should be okay. For example, you can ask, say in the CSR, a straightforward question. So, do companies engage in CSR to um, improve or create value for the corporation, or to use it as a tool to promote the company as a marketing tool? So that's a good question. Do companies use CSR as a marketing tool? Then the second point, whether it is researchable. Some research questions are very clear, but may not be researchable. Why may not be researchable? Because if you can't access to data, right? If you cannot access to data and if it cannot be analyzed, then that may not be researchable. Some cases with respect to maybe the public governance, very clear research issues are there, but may not be researchable at this moment. Then it is good if you can connect it to some theories. In the previous week, we told you about the theorization or theoretical framing. Whenever we have a theory, again, it is easy. Theory is something like theoretical support is some spectacles or the glasses through which you look at the issue. It is easy for you. Otherwise, you may look at here and there, and your attention focus may go here and there. So loose outcome would be the result. So in several research questions, if several research questions are raised, coherence and the interconnectedness should be always maintained. In some cases, you will have only one research question, but in some research program, there may be several research questions. It's all right, because some questions are interconnected to the others. So it is always good to have several research questions, but the matter is you need to maintain the coherence and interconnectedness of all these things. If the questions are unrelated to each other, there is no point. Pertaining to budgeting process, public budgeting. So you may raise so many questions about transparency nowadays. At global level, many people talk about the budgeting takes place in a transparent manner. It is not transparent. So how the transparency can be improved? Is transparency, does transparency matter? Does transparency increase the public interest? So likewise, you can develop many questions, but you are checking the transparency within budgeting process. So major area is the budgeting, right? So budgeting is the top. So you scale it down to transparency. Therefore, the doable research is the transparency. Within the transparency, you raise different questions. So where are the transparency checklists? So what are the obstacles? And if transparency is assured, what would happen? Likewise, so those are. So therefore, research question should be the caveat. You got to be very careful. Synthesization does not mean that you narrow it down to something that is not research worthy. And it does not mean if you keep it very broad, which is also not doable. So therefore, synthesization or keeping it broad has to be done with a good understanding. So that this discussion would help you to think of. So what really matters at the end of the day when you formulate or finalize a research question is whether it uh, um, justifies the task that we are going to do and whether that particular task is doable and whether this outcome would be meaningful and whether this outcome would add to the body of knowledge, what we call significance, research rigor, and the significance of the work that we are going to do. As long as they are reflected in your research question, yes, it is a doable research and good research question. Quick like checklist for a research proposal, like so already we discussed about these things. Just to remind and summarize these things, you need to be aware of these things: research topic and your research questions, and why these research questions are important, and what does the literature say about these areas or research question. How does the literature relate to your research? So whether there is any supporting literature, and how will you collect data. Data collection is also important. If data cannot be collected, nothing can be done. And what methods are going to be used for data collection, what methods are going to be used for data analysis. So these things are important. And again, what resources are available for you to analyze the data. So these are very basic things when you develop your research proposal in line with the research question. So with that, I will just conclude this part. But now we can take up your research question if the time permits. I think it is 9:39. We can take 5-10 minutes to discuss your research question if you have posted them. Or otherwise, you can ask, or you can just tell us your research question. Since it was reconnected, I don't see any question in the chat box. Dayananda sir, do you see any research questions? Hello, if you have just posted before, just you can post it again, since that is not seen here, or you can ask directly. You unmute the mic and ask questions. I mean, tell us your research question. Then we can comment on that. Hello.
But better,
Dayananda sir. Hello.
but better to put in the chat box.
Chat box. But
Chat box.
yeah, chat box. But don't know. Did you see any question in the chat box
Hello.
before? Because I don't see any. I don't see any question in the chat box.
If
Maybe
not,
because I reconnected.
yeah, no, they,
Do you see any question in the chat box?
no,
In your chat box now. So that means
no.
students have not posted. So now this is your time. Do you have any questions? Research question? If not, we can find out. So they do not speak. Hello, hello. I wonder whether they hear us or not, but you are hearing, so that means they also hear us. So that's all from my end. If Dayananda sir, if you have anything, because I just hurried up the last slide just to save time for the discussion. But if they do not have any question, you can add something to this. Yeah, Dayananda sir. I hope that most of the important aspects were discussed. If I summarize what I said, um, in terms of developing a research question and planning for your research, um, the number one, the key aspect is to be free from the present mindset, free from the present mindset of living in a context of believing. Um, just try to inculcate that habit. No, I am looking at everything, all the things happen around me from a research perspective. So therefore, I do not simply believe in things. I question things. I want more and more information. I want information not only from one source, many sources. So collect more and more relevant information from different sources. Then that help. If you develop that mindset in you, of course, you can be a good researcher. Then um, to think of a particular research area, there are so many sources as explained, as specified by Marx. Long list is there, including literature. So from one of the sources, or from based on several sources, you think of, okay, so this is how I am going to identify particular research question. So within that particular research question, on top of it, you may have a very broad idea, broad area, broader discipline. Within broader discipline, you interrogate, you argue, you collect evidence. Likewise, you scale it down to a doable research, what we call synthesization. So once you synthesize, and it is if it is good for you, no matter whether it is quantitative or qualitative, and then you can start off collecting additional data and develop your proposal. Because the foundation for a good research is the research question, good research question. You're questioning something because it puzzles you, it bothers you. Then the solution to this question would bring about something good. That is your research. Then you are planning for it, and then your supervisor would be allocated next semester. Until then, you will listen to lecture series like this. So during this particular semester, what we recommend you to do is to read every day at least half an hour, maybe 1 hour. Read a very good research article. In the first place, if you are not familiar with, if you are not good at reading research article, if you feel bored of reading research articles, so read anything that is in of your interest. Reading, that is very dedicated reading. During this particular reading time, our advice is better switch off your mobile phones, or just keep your mobile phone aside, because your attention is needed, maybe 1 hour, right? So read whatever you like. Once you read it, so once you're accustomed to read, then you can take a research paper. So when you take a research paper also, we have given you a list of research journals, good research journals, and even access to journals is also possible through our online web, I mean the library system, or maybe you can freely access to the internet and collect research papers, good research papers. So internationally accepted, top ranking, if you can find a research paper from top ranking research journal, that would be the best. So initial point. So when you read a research the paper, better to read the abstract first. Don't read the entire paper, and so otherwise you may be bored of. Abstract will help you to decide whether you are interested in that area or not. If you are not interested in, you do not find any interest, better not read that paper. There is no use. So glance through, skim through some research papers only with the abstract. then select several papers. So once you have a research paper, then you can um, think of reading. If you are interested in reading, nowadays I am promoting not a research article but a book. So it can be downloaded from the internet if you go to PDF drive. There are several books written by that particular author. His name is Yua Noah Noah yeah Noah Yuval Harari, right? Yuval Harari. The famous book, best-selling book, is called The Brief History of Homo Sapiens. So due to some other reason, I found it. I read few pages. My goodness, so it really struck me. So whenever I find free time, maybe 1 hour, half an hour time, I read few pages. Until now, I was able to read around 150 odd pages out of 400. But it keeps the curiosity in me to read it. Very interesting. It reveals how mankind, especially the humans, evolved starting from Homo sapien with a history of 70 to 100,000 years. Within a whole history of 15 billion years in the world. So just 100,000, 70 to 100,000 years, brief history with Homo sapien is discussed in that book. If you are interested in reading, I recommend you to read it so that improve your reading ability. So find a very good reason, then you can move on to a research paper. Actually, reading a research paper and reading novel or any other thing are two different things. Because when it comes to research, so research paper may not be that much interested unless you find any interest in that particular topic. That is why I asked you to read the abstract first. So, so if you can go in that path, if you follow these guidance, that really certainly helps you to do a good research at the end of the day. Otherwise, what happens, many students struggle. They do not listen to advices at the beginning. They might think that no, at the end of the day, I can copy or I can produce a report. My task is to give a proposal and give a dissertation. So it could be done either by hook or crook. So I'm not worried. So, but you would struggle. Sometimes you may not pass it. You might not get expected the results for the research. So on one hand, actually, from research the perspective, open mind, we tell you, well, actually there are two purposes. On one hand, you comply with your degree requirement. That is must, that is needed. So that may be your number one concern. But the meantime, mind that you are contributing to the body of knowledge, to the society. That is also a great thing. So if you can achieve both together in a meaningful manner, then so you could be happy one day. So that is end of my explanation and summarization. So Dayananda sir, if there is any question we can take up, otherwise we
No,
can find out.
they
Yeah,
have not put any questions, but we will then find out.
yeah, okay. So do you have anything to add?
No, for me it's
Okay,
okay,
already yeah, you explained everything. So
but we
we are
need
sorry.
we need their research ideas. Then only we can put
Yeah,
add
yeah, yeah.
something.
That's
Otherwise,
right. Yeah. So maybe later on we can discuss when you come out with your research question, research ideas and all these things. And we are sorry that we were not able to record everything. And whatever we recorded, maybe the small part initially recorded and maybe the latter part, we will upload them in the LMS. Please bear with us for this technical matter because that is beyond our control. We got to live with this condition. Thank you very
but,
much.
but shall we ask them next time also,
Hmm.
if possible? Next time they have to put their research ideas to the chat
Okay.
box.
Yes, yes, yeah, please, yeah. I hope that so you heard what Dayananda sir said. So next week also we three would be conducting the research one session, maybe session number 2. If you post your research questions or send your research question in advanced ones, or maybe at the lecture time, we can take them up. So that would be the best way.
Even
And
rather than questions, they can forward their research idea.
yeah,
Maybe area, maybe some wording. But later on, we can discuss and help them how to,
yeah, yeah,
how
yeah.
to, yeah.
no matter whether we are going to be your supervisor or not. So you can make use that idea with any supervisor. So like we are ready to help you in, like, no matter whether you do quantitative or qualitative, but mainly we would like to explain you how the qualitative research is being carried out and how important it is and how best it could dig into the issues, how best it could really bring something out of it, and these kind of things. So Diana sir, do you advise them to send us email, or just because if they are going to post research questions in the chat box, sometime if they have
What we
ideas that would be difficult for them to write in the chat box, then they can send them
we-
as email, or what?
what
How do you suggest?
we will really facilitate in the LMS opening of
Yes,
folder.
yes. Okay.
Folder.
Okay. So are you going to just create a separate
You just
note on this thing, or how? Please,
we
yes,
will
please clarify.
LMS we will open this assignment part. Then they can write it and send it us.
Okay. So we will do that. So I hope it is clear. Anything else?
For me, it's okay.
Okay. Then thank you very much. We'll wind up the session for today and see you next week. Have a nice weekend.